All right, I want to start with a statement that, honestly, it sounds like a lie in today's gaming world. This game is completely free. Like 100% free. And when I say free, I mean truly free. No ads popping up, no microtransactions, no premium battle pass, none of that stuff. There's nothing. It's like it exists in a parallel universe where none of that was ever invented. So you're probably thinking, okay, what's the catch? It must not be very good, right? Well, that's the thing. It has a 94% overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam. We're talking from over 26,000 reviews. This isn't some little side project. People absolutely love this game. So, what is this impossible game that seems to break all the rules? It's called Mindustry. And honestly, it feels like a game that just shouldn't exist. So let's dig into what makes it one of the most brilliant and, frankly, addictive strategy games you can play right now. First up, the impossible game. Because really, its origin story is just as wild as its price tag. It started as this tiny little thing that just blew up. So check this out. It all kicked off back in April 2017. A single developer, a Nukin, whipped up the first version of this game in just 72 hours for a game jam. And he won. But here's where the story gets crazy. Instead of cashing in, he did something almost nobody does. He made it open source. He basically just put it out there and said, hey world, let's build this together. And for over 7 years, that's exactly what's happened, all the way up to a huge V8.0 overhaul just recently. Okay, so what kind of game is this? I mean, what do you actually do? Well, that's where things get interesting. Most games, they pick a lane. Mindustry decided to just take 3 lanes and smash them together into one giant interconnected machine. It's a factory automation game like Factorio. It's a tower defense game. And it's a real-time strategy or RTS game. All at once. So how in the world does that work? Well, it all hinges on this really elegant core loop. It's actually super intuitive when you see it. First, you're going to extract resources right out of the ground, stuff like copper, lead, you name it. Then you transport all that stuff with these huge, sprawling networks of conveyor belts. Next, you use those materials to manufacture literally everything, from the walls of your base to the bullets for your turrets. And why? Because you have to defend your home base from waves and waves of enemies. But here's the absolute key. These aren't separate tasks. It's all one big system. If your factory is inefficient, your turrets run dry. Simple as that. If your defenses fall, well, there goes your factory. Your supply chain isn't just helping your defenses. Your factory is your weapon. And this whole setup leads to something you don't see in a lot of games. The actual joy of failure. Seriously, the way you fail in this game is what makes it so hard to put down. So when your entire base gets wiped out on wave 15, it's not frustrating, it's diagnostic. You can literally see why it happened. Oh, look, my copper line got jammed up right there, or, yep, my power grid couldn't handle that spike. It's a puzzle. Every time you fail, you've just been given a huge clue. You're not grinding, you're learning. And once you get hooked on that loop of building, failing, and learning, you start to realize just how massive this game really is. I'm not talking about a handful of maps here. It's a whole universe to conquer. Yeah, you heard that right. It's not just one game. It's basically 2 full games in one. There are 2 completely different planets, each with its own huge campaign. And no, this isn't some pricey DLC. It's all there from the second you download it. And these aren't just palette swaps either. They play completely differently. Serpulo, the first planet, is your classic survival and defense game. But then you have Erekir, which is all about offense and conquering territory. It's got totally different rules, like a power system based on heat and way less water, which forces you to rethink everything. Each one has its own giant, sprawling tech tree to unlock. So let's put that in perspective. When you add up everything from both planets, you're looking at a toolbox with over 200 unique things to build, not to mention all the different units you can command. The amount of stuff packed into this game is just staggering. And again, it's all free. All right, so at this point, you've got to be asking the same question I was. How? How is any of this possible? Well, that brings us to the game's ultimate secret weapon. How did one developer build all this? The short answer is, he didn't, not by himself. That open source community was a huge part of it, for sure. But there's another feature, baked right into the game itself, that opens the door to basically infinite possibilities.
It's called Mindustry Logic, or MLOG for short. Now, don't let the name scare you. It's basically a simple scripting language right inside the game that lets you program your base. You can create custom AI for your buildings and units, achieving a level of automation that is just unheard of in most games.
So what can you do with this? Well, you can tell your units to patrol automatically, you can build smart defenses that know to target the biggest enemies first, you can even design a factory AI that reroutes materials wherever they're needed most. I mean, people have used this to build full-on combat AIs for player versus player matches that are way better than any human could be. And this creativity just explodes out into the community. Because the game is open source, players have literally created more content than was in the original game. We're talking whole new planets, huge mods, and thousands of blueprints you can share with just a simple copy-paste. The amount of community content is a whole other game on top of the main one.
And that right there, that is the Mindustry experience. You sit down to solve one tiny little problem. I just need to get this copper over here. You place one little drill, one little conveyor belt, and then you blink, and you realize it's hours later, and you've accidentally built an entire world. So when you boil it all down, yeah, Mindustry is free, it's huge, it's super deep, but the most important thing about it is that it's built on respect. It respects your intelligence enough to let you fail. It respects your creativity enough to give you the tools to build anything, and it respects your time. It leaves you wondering, what would gaming be like if more games did that? All right, let's just get right into it. Today, we're looking at a game that honestly feels like it shouldn't exist in today's world. It's got more depth than most $60 titles, millions of downloads, and yet you almost never hear about it. This is Mindustry. And when I say it feels like it shouldn't exist, I really mean it. Just look at this. It's completely 100% free. And not free-to-play free. We're talking no ads, no paywalls, no pop-ups asking you to buy gems, nothing. It asks for absolutely nothing. And for a game that asks for nothing, the community gives it everything. It's sitting at an overwhelmingly positive 94% on Steam, from tens of thousands of reviews. So you have to ask, right? How can a game be this good and be totally free? Well, to figure that out, we gotta go back to the very beginning. Mindustry actually started with just one person, a solo developer named Anukin, and it all kicked off during a 72-hour game jam way back in 2017. It was born from a simple but really powerful question. This was the core idea. What if you took the complex, satisfying factory automation of a game like Factorio, but you mashed it together with the nonstop pressure of tower defense? And then, why not, throw in some real-time strategy on top of it all? Well, he didn't just ask the question. He built it, he won that game jam, and then he just never stopped building. I mean, look at this. We're talking about nearly a decade of constant, dedicated development. From getting the core gameplay right in 2017, to adding complex things like a logic system, to dropping a whole new planet in 2022. This was never a one-and-done project. But then he made a decision that changed everything. He made the game open source. He put the entire codebase up on GitHub for the world to see, where it has, over 23,000 stars. And that single move transformed Mindustry from a solo project into this global collaboration. So what do you get when you have one dedicated creator and a worldwide team of contributors? You get this seamless blend of 3 different genres. Most games struggle to do one genre well. Mindustry weaves 3 together so tightly you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. At its heart, the gameplay is this beautiful, simple loop. You mine stuff. You move it around on conveyor belts to turn it into better stuff. You use that stuff to build turrets and walls, and then you fight off waves of enemies. Sounds easy, right? But it's how they all connect that's genius. Let's break it down. You've got the factory game, where you're designing these complex supply chains. Then you've got the tower defense game. But here's the twist. Your turrets need ammo. Where does that ammo come from? Your factories. So if your supply line gets cut, your defenses go silent. And finally, you've got the RTS, building armies to go out and capture new ground. The key is, these aren't 3 separate games. They're all gears in the same machine. And this is exactly why the game gets its hooks into you. Because you will fail. A big wave is going to come through and flatten your base. But it's never frustrating, because you know exactly why you failed. Oh, my power grid overloaded, or I wasn't producing enough ammo. So you just rebuild, but smarter. It feels so good because you're not just grinding, you're genuinely learning. And the game really respects the time you put into learning by giving you a staggering amount of content to master. I'm not just talking about one long campaign.
We're talking about two entirely different planets to conquer. The first planet, Serpulo, is the original experience. It's huge, with over 130 building blocks and dozens of units. Then, in 2022, Anukin just dropped an update. It was a whole new planet, Erekir, with its own tech, its own blocks, its own units. This wasn't paid DLC. It was basically a full sequel added to the game for free.
And they feel completely different to play. This really shows it perfectly. Serpulo is all about hunkering down, building massive defenses, and surviving. Eric here, on the other hand, is aggressive. It's about attack and conquest. It even has a completely different power system based on heat. It's two distinct strategic experiences in one package.
So you've got two full games in one, for free. But that's just the official content. The real secret to Mindustry's infinite replayability lies in the tools it gives its community. This is where it goes from a great game to something else entirely. If you had to boil it down to one thing, one single feature that elevates this game to a masterpiece, what would it be? It's not the factory building, as great as it is. It's not the tower defense. It's something way, way cooler. It's this. Mindustry Logic, or MLOG. It is a literal programming language inside the game. You can build processors and write code to automate anything you can imagine. Want your units to patrol automatically? Want your power grid to shut down non-essential systems when it's low? You can program it. You never have to touch it if you don't want to, but the rabbit hole is there and it goes deep. And that open source decision just keeps paying off. The community has built mods that add entire new planets and campaigns. There's a brilliant schematic system so you can share your incredibly complex factory designs with just a copy-paste code. And to top it all off, it's fully cross-platform. PC, Mac, Linux, Android, iOS, everyone plays together seamlessly. All of this points to a fundamental difference in philosophy, right? We live in an age of games that require you to be always online, where your saves are on a server you don't control, where a company can just shut a game down and it's gone. Mindustry is the complete opposite. You can play it offline. Your saves are on your machine. And because the code is public, the game can't just be turned off. This is probably the most important point of all. Because the source code is out there, this game can literally never be taken away from you. The game you play, the worlds you build, the hours you put in, they're truly yours, forever. This quote just nails the experience. You start out trying to solve one tiny problem, and before you know it, it's 3 a.m. and you've built a continent-spanning logistics network. It's a game that respects your intelligence, your time, and your wallet. So we'll end on this thought. Mindustry is just this shining example of a different way to make games. It gives you everything up front and trusts that you'll appreciate it. It really makes you wonder, what would the gaming landscape look like if more developers built games on trust instead of transactions?